Notice of an open work session of the City Council of the City of North Kansas City, Missouri, March 5th, 2019. Eric?
Thank you, sir. Tonight's work session is on our water treatment plant project. We haven't talked about that for a while, but it's a very major project that we do have in the city and that is going to be achieving some major milestones soon. So we thought it would be a good time to update you about the project, just remind you of what it is, why we're doing it, and talk about where we're headed. So I'd like at this point to introduce with firm of Burns & McDonnell, our consulting engineer who's performing the design, Jeff Klein with the project team to head off the presentation tonight about this project. Jeff.
Thanks, Eric. With me tonight is Jess Bories. Jess is the project engineer. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to talk about water supply and treatment improvements. Thanks for having us here tonight. If you have any questions as we go, don't hesitate to ask. We're going to do a brief project summary. Then when, Jess is going to walk us through a video and on the progress, and then we'll talk about schedule and a couple of construction phase items. So our project goals continue to be maintaining a high water quality, meeting the growth potential for the city, protecting the water source. Those that were on the council before will remember that other consultants had proposed new water supply, new greenfield plant at like 3 times the cost. And we found a way to protect the existing water supply that you have, improving treatment and extending the life of the existing water facility. So the existing supply system includes 5 active wells, 1 well that's inactive, well 1. Of the 5 active wells, each of them can produce about 3 million gallons per day or 2,100 gallons per minute. The city's maximum day demand is currently about 5 million gallons per day. So you really, on a big demand day, only need to run 2 wells to meet your demand. So you have lots of capacity, very good well field. So well 1 has been inactive for years, and you can see, there's the cursor, it sits right in the ammonia plume. And what we're going to be doing is reactivating well 1 at 600 gallons a minute to control that plume and keep it away from some of your other wells. Well 4A is starting to increase a little bit in ammonia concentrations. So it's going to pull that plume back. We're going to take that water, add chlorine to that water that has a couple milligrams per liter of ammonia to neutralize the ammonia, and then send all that water to the plant for additional treatment. And this will also protect, again, all the other wells in the well field.
Okay, what you're going to be pumping that one and then treating it, and then we'll be using that water?
Yes, sir. We're gonna add chlorine to it to neutralize the ammonia, and then we'll send it to into the main part of the water plant through the aerator, all the softening basins with all the other water.
And doing that, you'd be drawing down on that. What's the ammonia that's in there now, so it doesn't go on down. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
I understand.
Exactly. So we've got some pictures here. You can see some of the existing wells and the vaults where the piping and meters are. This is the existing control panel. The modern day control panel basically looks like a computer. So for the well fields, whole new electrical system, whole new control system. We'll be putting some prefabricated buildings over the wells and replacing the piping so this, all the operating staff have easy access, and rather than having to go into confined permit spaces to get access to the piping, everything will be in a building. So it'll be much more accessible and much more safe for the operators.
This one here that's not hooked up, is that number 1 well?
That's number 1. We are not putting a building over number 1. We're basically going to be running it, the line to the new chlorine building, which is a pretty, what is it, 50 feet, if that? Yeah, and we're going to have all the piping embedded in that chlorine building, so. Then all the water comes to the water treatment plant. You can see the first thing it does is it goes through the aerator. You can see the aerator's in need of some rehabilitation. From the aerator, it goes into the one of two, or into the solids contact basins, and you can see the corrosion on the metal. So there'll be sandblasting, rewelding, repainting, that equipment, and we'll be replacing all the weirs with a fiberglass so it won't rust, won't corrode, and then adding some walkways. This will all improve the treatability of the water with some other process improvements we're doing, as well as improving operator safety and access in this area. We get down into the basement, that's where the filter piping resides, as well as 4 high service pumps. And there, we're replacing all the filter valves and actuators. The valves that are on the effluent of the filters will control the flow. You have this large box. We're going to replace that with a pipe. And by replacing the valves, replacing this with a pipe, this is actually a hydraulic restriction. It'll allow us to get the plant back up to its 7.5 MGD capacity. Currently, it's difficult to push more than about close to 6. On the pump side, we are replacing all the pumps, and we're redoing some of the piping, especially the suction piping. There are a couple of the pumps. The hydraulic conditions can actually cause cavitation, which minimizes the life of the pump and the impeller. So we're going to straighten out some of that. We're also putting variable frequency drives on all these pumps, so operators have better control over how much water they discharge to the distribution system.
Question, when you said the capacity of the plant was about 6 million gallons per day, is that right?
The design capacity is actually 7.5, but it seems to be hydraulically limited to about 6.
Okay, and with the improvements you're recommending, it would be getting us up to about 7.5?
7.5, yes, sir.
Okay.
How long has it been since them pumps been replaced?
A long time. Based on the look of the pumps. Do you remember, Jess, offhand? Okay. So possibly.
Yeah, I think 2 of the original pumps, 1 and 2, are vintage, like 50s era, and then some of the newer 3 and 4, a little bit larger, are vintage 70s, 80s. So it's been a long time for all of the pumps, and they've, lived their service life, shall we say.
They're out of warranty then. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure some of them have had the internal impellers and shafts and some of the mechanical components replaced over the years. Let's see. So the plant's going to get a variety of structural repairs throughout the facility, all new HVAC system, all new electrical, all new controls. You can see we're also improving the access. This is the loading dock. We're going to be enlarging that. We're moving the south gate as well. That's going to improve truck access and turning radius so delivery vehicles can get into the site and make their drop-offs. We've got a few pictures of various parts of the plant. You got the front of the building, the roof, filter area, and outside I guess that'd be the Slakers. That's the existing chlorine room. We're going to be addressing a number of roof issues. We'll be re-insulating it and providing slope so we get positive drainage and putting in new gutter downspouts so we can move water away so it doesn't pond on the roof anymore. We'll be addressing a lot of interior and exterior deterioration and modernizing and improving pretty much everything in the facility, basically a full architectural redo of the whole facility. So we're going to update it, and it's going to be good for another 30, 40 years.
When you were speaking about the pumps, did you say that the facility would receive new pumps then?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep.
Is this work done incrementally, or are you going to do the job all in one swell swoop?
It'll be done all in one fell swoop while keeping the plant operational with minimal outages.
Thank you.
Now, apparently, the way I understand it, is the old part of the building is what has already been, they put a new roof and everything on it. Is that going to be, is that part of it?
So the admin area is getting new roof.
Yeah, the area that you see pictured here is the newer area, which has a flatter roof. I believe over the existing administrative area, we'll see it in the video, but it has more of the gabled
Yeah.
roof. And I believe that it's actually getting re-roofed as well as part of the improvements, but yeah, I think that there's just been some water infiltration issues. But really, when we're looking in terms of total square footage and some of the other work that's being done with HVAC equipment and making new penetrations to bring that stuff in, there's some other structural repairs that are going on inside the building. Actually, there's been some, Band-Aids over time to keep some of the walls in place. So as they do various things, there's just going to need to be a wholesale replacement on those structures.
I have a question that you probably will not be able to answer. It's an incremental question regarding, some of my constituents occasionally have a bad taste, a metallic taste in the water. Can you address what that might possibly be? It just comes on occasionally, but it's quite strong, and many have purchased filters, for their faucets. That's a very subjective type.
Yeah, it is. It could be, is there any color? Is it?
No, it's just a bitter metallic taste. I received it myself through my faucet. It's not all the time. It seems to just come occasionally, but it's quite strong.
It could just be a distribution system issue with,
Could it be from our own area? I live in some apartment complex down here. Could it just be some things going on there as opposed to the?
It could be old pipes in the apartment complex. It could be pipes that, in the vicinity, depending on how often flushing programs initiated. If they have that new, a lot of times just a little bit of flushing on some of the supply lines will help clear that out.
I think they've done that, and I think it's improved a little bit, but I knew you were going to be here, and I thought I would ask that question because I'll probably be asked about it.
And you're right, I didn't know the answer.
Bill, the next time that occurs, if you could think to give us a call, that might help us to pinpoint, I don't know, but it would help if you could let us know right away after you hear some reports of that, we could then see if we can identify what might be causing it.
Thank you.
It's like taking the car to the shop when it has the electrical issue, and then when you take it there, it doesn't have the issue.
Well, everybody complains worldwide about the water once in a while. They don't like the taste of the water, and it could be their taster too, When you get our age, your taster goes haywire. What are you laughing at?
Oh.
Okay, so we're going to go through a video, which is a video that's been produced from a 3D model of the building. We went and modeled all the existing structures, a lot of the existing piping, and like anything, there might be some minor nuances in the video. There's new level instruments, and they didn't, for example, model the bracket. So if you see a floating box or something, maybe just understand, is the box actually going to be floating? No, but, these technologies get better and better just the more we continue to progress. So And at any time, I can pause the video and address any questions, so feel free to interrupt. So kind of, here, let's see, can I go full screen on this? Or no, it's probably okay. So kind of first thing, improving the front access and making it more modern and universally acceptable. And then also harvesting a little bit more natural daylight with some of those fiberglass windows that you saw. Re-roofing and again, adding some handrail along the edge of the roof that'll provide some improved safety for the operators that have to get up there and access equipment, HVAC, and both other process equipment that's up there. Moving around to the side, this is actually going to be the new chlorine building that Jeff mentioned. It may seem a little counterintuitive, but the new chlorine system is going to be safer because the cylinders will actually be a little bit bigger. And as an added safety measure, we're going to be adding a chlorine gas scrubber that's on that pad, which will be able to hold the contents of a whole cylinder. We're going to be adding a new electrical and chemical building off the back there, and you can kind of see where that dock is, the loading dock, and it's been extended off the back side of the plant. Again, kind of taking advantage of some of the existing openings that were previously bricked in and replacing those with the fiberglass panels to let in more daylight and harvest that natural daylight. The ramp will allow, again, universal access and some improved safety at the plant. And then when you enter, there's going to be kind of a common meeting space, which will allow, you know, the operators to work with the other operators, do trainings, entertain vendors and whatnot that come in. The first office is going to be for the chief plant operator, Danny, who's been wonderful to work with on this job. There's going to be some whiteboards and some things that will allow the operators to keep track of what's going on day to day. We've salvaged the bank door vault there. Next office is going to be John, who's overall in charge of the, water system. Break room. Essentially, right now the operators kind of share a awkward hallway, and it's this is going to give them a dedicated space, and also a space where if they needed to do some one-on-one meetings, they could take somebody aside and kind of address that in a more appropriate setting. So moving towards kind of the back area, there's some doorways and whatnot to create better separation of spaces. So this is sort of the public-facing space, and this is a little bit more of a interior-facing space, locker rooms. We are upgrading 2 different restroom facilities, and again, making them universally accessible, which will allow, if there's school groups or other kind of groups that are visiting the plant for educational purposes or whatnot, it'll just give better access and provide a little bit better facilities for people that are coming in from public or vendors that are doing maintenance and things like that. And this is overall about a 10-minute video, so some parts of it go a little slower, but moving again kind of to, again, a separation of space between areas that are interior focused. This is a little bit more of a maintenance area. There's going to be a new water heater. The water heater that's there is, again, kind of vintage 1980s, so. Still going to be, this is an existing space that we're going to kind of reuse as is, and then just give some new utility cabinets and utility sinks to allow them just better storage and better just cleaning capabilities in general. So now we're going to go back in through the plant and kind of visit the lab and operations space, which is where the operators that run the plant spend a lot of their time. One of the things you'll see is a big pallet jack, which is just off some double doors, which is connected through that hallway to the back loading dock that you saw that was extended. So this is going to be a new thoroughfare really to bring stuff into the plant. Again, a new electrical room. All of the pumps are getting variable frequency drives, which should allow better control and hopefully a little bit of energy savings over time as well, as they'll be able to control how much power is going to them. It's going to be a new chemical room. We're upgrading a couple of the chemical feed systems that they have and just, again, kind of modernizing, providing some safety containment area for potential spills and whatnot. Really, yeah, safety showers for improved operator safety as well. A new lab space. This is, where the operators do a lot of their sampling and whatnot. And because right now they have to share the space with their lab and their operator workstations, we're kind of creating two distinct spots. That's the operator station, and then the rest of the room is the lab area. That'll allow them to more easily respond to alerts and things that are coming through their SCADA and through their control systems, and then also do their analysis as they need to. This is kind of walking into a part of the main workhorse of the plant, which is the filter gallery. This ramp that's pictured here is an improvement. There's some poor drainage on the backside of the structure, so moving that ramp to the inside is going to mitigate water that can come in during, a really bad driving rain event. Again, kind of upgrading some of the filter controls, providing new ventilation to refresh the air in the space, give it a better environment, and mitigate corrosion from happening so quickly. Moving into the basin, again, rehabilitating that aerator, adding some walkways, replacing the equipment that's been corroded. Then we're going to head to the upper floor. So the upper floor has less improvements than the rest of the space, but there are still some key improvements that are taking place up there. There's specifically, and this is going to peek real quick at the basement. We'll come back and look at the basement in a couple of more minutes.
Sneak preview.
Yeah, sneak preview. It's thrilling.
How many of you have been in that water plant?
Yeah.
It all-
This looks a lot better than
all
what
the-
it does now.
yeah, all the-
Yeah, unfortunately, this probably looks better than the plant ever will, but I would hope that it truly reflects a lot of, what you guys remember seeing if you've been there. There's some existing electrical equipment on the upper floor that is being abandoned and then replaced. And then, and again, there's some other structural work that's happening on this backside. And these areas that are back here are still going to be continued to use for some storage of files.
Is still all those records and files stored up there?
Yes, sir, they are. And this is the lime slaking area. It'll have a new ventilation system. Lime tends to be very corrosive, and so some ventilation will help keep that environment fresh and mitigate corrosion on like some of the steel components that are in there. Yeah, new door to separate those two areas. That allows us to keep the HVAC equipment appropriately sized for each space rather than having one that's oversized for the whole area. And it's going to be a little bit like a grocery store door that just, pushes in, pushes out. So then this kind of brings us back to the overall plant. And then we got about 2 minutes left. Any questions as we've been going?
What are those two tall tanks or towers, or what are they?
Yeah. So, just real briefly, this bigger one
Yeah.
that you see is a bulk silo where they get lime delivered, and then it gets transferred from this big bulk silo up into this smaller day silo. So that day silo is what is used to feed the lime down into the two basins that are on the back. And then the bulk lime is stored in this big so that they don't have to have as many frequent deliveries.
How long of a time will it take to complete this from start to finish? You have a rough idea?
We're thinking in the 15, 16-month timeframe.
Will there be times where water supply might be diminished to a little extent or possibly shut down for a few minutes or whatever?
Possibly. Yeah, there'll definitely be a couple outages. I know Pat and Eric are we've discussed coordinating with Kansas City, Missouri for some interconnect, utilizing those interconnects during those periods. But the idea is to minimize that. And if there are outages, doing work at night or during lower demand periods.
It's a marvelous looking facility. And you know, as a retired businessman, whenever you do something like this for your employees, there's always a boost of morale and a very professional approach to whatever they're doing, at least for a while. It works really, really well. People, these fellows and whoever works there are going to love it.
For those of you who haven't been there, if you'd like, we can be happy to give you a tour. You can do a before and after comparison, but it is over 100 years old, and it is showing its age. So
I will tell you that we did the last project where we did the video. A couple of the council folks worked with us through the project, and they were at the ribbon cutting, and one of them commented, "It looks just like the video in here."
That's cool. Well, it used to be the policy to take new council people on a tour of the city here, and one of the stops was the water department, and they would go through that. That's how I was involved and able to do that.
we do more of a windshield tour now, but we'd be happy to go more in depth if anybody's
I think that would be a good thing if you could take the time and afford to do it. Even have a public viewing, maybe somehow or other. If you could engage the city, a populace, in seeing what has been done in their behalf, it might go a long way to resolve any issues that you might have in the future about your water department. Just a thought.
Okay, these wells, now, do they pump up to our storage tank and then from there back down, or?
So the wells pump to the aerator. You want to go back to that?
Sure, I'll see if I can find
They
it.
pump to the aerator, and then the system, gravity flows from the aerator through the solids contact or softening basins,
How come
through
we
the
got,
filters into a clear well, and then the high service pumps, which we're about to get to, so it's a great lead-in, then pump the water out into the distribution system and out to the elevated storage in the distribution system.
okay, why do we have the big tank up on the hill then?
Yeah, that's part of your distribution system storage, so,
Okay,
Oh.
once it's purified and everything else, then it goes up to the tank.
yes, sir.
Oh, and then from there, it goes to, oh,
Right, and basically, it allows the system to pump out at, let's just say, a more of a consistent rate, and then let the tank levels go up and down, so you get what we call equalization storage, as well as emergency storage.
Yeah. Okay, then if we did have to shut ours down, then the Kansas City, Missouri water could go direct into our storage tank.
yes, we
Correct.
can pump it into there. But the reservoir up on the top of the hill off of 32nd Terrace actually serves the function of a water tower, and we don't have a water tower, and that's because we have that.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't know all that.
That's pretty close. Okay, so coming into the basement, real quick, just the last couple minutes of this. If you've ever been inside the basement, you've probably noticed that there is an extensive amount of piping. A lot of piping that used to be used there was abandoned in place, and it really makes it difficult to find your way in the space, and it makes it a little bit more difficult for the operators to access valves and other things for regular maintenance. So we are going to be taking out a lot of the abandoned pipe, and again, where we can, we'll be re-insulating some of the pipes and repainting pipes. They have a unique insulation system up there at that plant that isn't really used as frequently anymore, but it's very difficult to remove, and it does a good job at protecting it. So we'll be going back with a slightly different coating system that provides an equal amount of insulation protection, but isn't as extensive as the current system that is covering all of those pipes. And then the last little bit of this is moving to the high service pump area. So again, you have 4 existing high service pumps, or what we call high service pumps, that provide your water pressure for the city, and we're replacing all 4 of them. And there's going to be some modifications to the piping to, again, address some pump performance issues. Jeff called it pump cavitation. Essentially, it's a phenomenon where the water boils inside of the pump and it causes deterioration, and it sounds like it's pumping rocks, is about what it sounds like. And that's due to the suction conditions. So as you can see right here, this is a good view. We're lengthening that suction pipe and bringing those pipes a little bit further out into the room to improve that condition. And all of those pumps, again, will be new, and we'll have variable frequency drives. Oh, well, that was the end of it. I don't know what I just did, but that was the end of it.
So good, we wanted to see it.
Yeah. So again, I hope that gave you guys a better understanding of what's going on at the plant. Again, there's really a whole scale architectural improvement to modernize, improve access, and improve safety. Those are some of the really big things that are being addressed with this update. And then there's some other process improvements that are taking place that will help extend the lifetime and give you a little bit better water quality. You guys do have pretty good quality water, but again, it's kind of just a facility that's in need a lot of upgrade, a lot of repair, and a few, minor process upgrades to really extend the life for another 30, 40 years. So,
Question. Is there a, like a lifespan on, you said extend the life of a facility. Do you know how long it would extend the life of the facility? And then I think you said, I'll answer that question first. Do you know how long it'll possibly extend it, 50 years, 100 years? Do we know?
Well, probably not 100,
No, I wouldn't think so.
but 50 would be great.
50 would be, okay.
Reasonably 20, 25, 30, just if you take care of everything and as
Maintain it regularly.
maintain it, and as structural issues develop, after we improve
Sure.
make the structural improvements. That's not to say 10 years down the road, you're not going to start getting some cracks in some beams or things that we
Sure.
did not need to touch at this point in
As
time.
far as the machinery and stuff like that, the pumps, do they all come with like warranties, guarantees as how long they're, or is there any like warranty on the pumps and the
Yes.
material?
Yeah, there's typically a year or two, so they're not.
Wow, just a year
You
or
can
two?
get extended warranties. But
Are you confident that when you pump that well number one into the new facility, that's going to take care of the problem we got with it? Have you
yes,
tried it?
Yes, sir, we are. We've done the groundwater modeling. Had our hydrogeologist, Paul McCormick, who I think you might have met in a previous meeting. And he performed the modeling and looked at the different flows, and we settled in on that 600 gallons a minute. And that is adjustable. We could, if we want to pull it back faster, we could ramp it up a little bit. And if we find that we don't need to run it at 600 to maintain the plume, we can run it a little slower.
How soon do you think you're going to get started?
Great question. So we're looking at getting the design package for MDNR, Missouri Department of Natural Resource Review, in June, giving them a couple months to look at it, then giving us a month to clean it up and have an issue for bid package ready to go in October.
I don't remember the original schedule. Are we still on schedule from our original?
Well, we are a little bit delayed.
Okay.
But the reason we delayed was for the additional land acquisition.
Okay.
So the benefit of that land acquisition and discussions with our internal construction folks was having that additional land actually cut about 3 to 4 months off the project. Because where we were forced to put the chlorine building is where the electrical system was. So you had to have all of the electrical work done, which takes about a year, and have everything repowered before you could even start on the chlorine building. By having the additional land, we can move closer to well one, and contractor can start on the chlorine building right away.
Thank you.
So, let's see, talked about schedule. At the 30% level, we did refine the opinion of probable cost. And when we originally did it, it was a 2016 number. So we did it last fall, so it was a 2018 number. And we'll do it again, refine it again at the 95% level, basically on the set that goes to the state. And we'll get that done. We do recommend that there be a resident project representative on the site. We have someone in mind that's worked on the project and knows the details of that project, of this project. And we've initiated discussions with city staff about a resident project representative. And those will continue as we finalize the design. When we look at, it's also good to have a contingency fund, especially on a renovation project. Because change orders do occur. Knock on wood, we've had a really good change order history as of late, so like less than 1%. But don't hold me to that on this project. You guys got a lot more renovation than others. A contingency holdback would be good. That combined with the RPR, we are, based on the 30% design, we're holding we had a raw construction cost of about $9.9 million at the 30% level. That with, again, the engineering fee, some holdback, RPR, there's about $1.8 million of contingency funds available to help fund those other items, as well as inflation, because really when we bid, that 30% number will be about a year old. So we feel good about it at this point in time. And that's pretty much our presentation, short of the last slide with Jess's.
What did we budget for this?
So we budgeted initially, including engineering, $14 million.
Yeah.
And with the possibility in a few years of an additional $3 million, depending upon performance for, is it lime?
Lime slakers.
Lime slaking. So that we're in a wait and see, and I believe you all think it will be necessary, but we haven't determined that for sure at this point.
Well, you're in that mode where you have two existing lime slakers. They're old, but they work fine. So we didn't see the need to spend another $3 million to replace equipment that's working adequately, and staff does a good job of maintaining things. They had some problems with one of them, and they fixed it, and that seems to have resolved that issue. So short of any cataclysmic failure on either of them, there's really no reason to push forward to spend $3 million to replace equipment that's working adequately.
But we do have that showing in the 5-year CIP in 2022 if it proves necessary, and the amount of $3.6 million is what's showing here.
Okay. Anybody else?
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Very well explained.
Thank you all for your time.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.